wa. Iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe, tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, tẹ́ bá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, tẹ́ bá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
Don't let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do. With this quote from John Wooden, I welcome you to another edition of this wonderful program on radio, Education Today. Education Today is a program that aims to call attention of the public to education matters as they affect the effective running of the educational system and the achievement of educational goals. This comes on air every Saturday from 3 o'clock to 4 p.m. West African time on this station, Lights Radio. I am OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Our goal with this program is to educate, inform, orientate, and entertain the society on educational matters, address issues affecting the educational system, influence public opinion, and drive effective educational policy directions to guide the formulators and implementers. For your questions, comments, and contributions, you can reach us on Facebook via www.facebook.com/lightsradio. Our Twitter handle is @TheLightsRadio. Our Instagram handle is lights_radio, and YouTube light_radio. You can also call or send a message to us via SMS or WhatsApp on the number 0809-738-4000. I'll take that again, 0809-738-4000. In order to reward those who listen, watch us live, you have an opportunity to win fantastic prizes on our short quiz segment. This you can do by listening and watching out for the simple questions never can tell. It could be your turn to win this. We will go on a quick break. When we return, the program continues. Please stay with us. All right, if you just joined in, you are listening to Education Today on Lights Radio. We kick off with the news segment, and we have Nima Ibrahim in the studio for that. Hello, Nima.
Hello, good afternoon, Mr. KAZEEM.
All right, over to you, please.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the news on Education Today, reaching you live from Light Radio. I am Nima Ibrahim. First, the headlines. Lagos State government shuts down school over 4-year-old's alleged defilement by security guard. Parents lament hike in tuition fees. Fuel subsidy. University of Ibadan directs staff to work 3 days weekly. And on the foreign scene, Nicaragua seizes Catholic university accused of being center of terrorism. Now the details. The Lagos State government has shut down Greater Scholars International School in the Ajah area of the state over the alleged defilement of a 4-year-old pupil. The State Ministry of Education sealed the school on Wednesday, August 16, 2023. The pupil, who was allegedly defiled by the school's security guard, David James, on April 27, 2023, under the guise of cleaning her up. First, the 23-year-old suspect was arrested and arraigned before Mrs. B.O. Oshunsomi of Magistrates Court 1 Ogba on 1 count of sexual assault and subsequently remanded. Recall that the pupil's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Olushola, had on May 25, 2023, called on the state government to shut down the school. Hence, placards within concerned persons, including friends, family members, and representatives of non-governmental organizations, stormed the school and demanded justice for the child while also calling for the closure of the school. The victim's father, Mr. Olushola, welcomed the new development, saying this means Lagos State government is working and is willing to do the right thing. We are happy that justice will be served. The ongoing court case is set to resume on September 4, 2023. Parents have expressed concern over increase in tuition fees in most institutions as a result of the fuel subsidy removal, which has affected most sectors, most especially the education sector. Owing to the increase in the cost of living following the fuel subsidy removal, public and private institutions of learning across the country have taken a decision to increase tuition fees. The parents have also urged teachers and schools to teach students problem-solving skills and 21st century knowledge. Meanwhile, rather than the schools reverting to the former fee regimes, they have come out with measures they say would help parents and students to cope and pay. Hence, management of institutions like the University of Lagos, UNILAG, where the fee payable by students was jacked up from 19,000 naira to 190,250 naira, has introduced some measures such as the introduction of payment of school fees in installments, revitalization of the work-study program so students can get high remuneration, assistance for indigent students, adopt an Akokite project, as well as partnership with Lagos Bus Rapid Transport System to facilitate ease of transportation, among others, as ways of curbing the effects of the exorbitant fees hike. However, the federal government has continued to insist that its schools are still tuition-free despite hike in other charges. According to a statement from the presidency endorsed by the then special advisor to the president on special duties, communications and strategy, Mr. Dele Alake, the federal government has not introduced tuition fees in its schools. Rather, the schools have only introduced discretionary charges in some areas such as hostel accommodation, registration, laboratory, and other charges, which he said are not tuition fees. The executive chairman of Itire Kate Local Council Development Area in Lagos State, Honorable Dr. Ahmed Olariwaju Akpatira, has distributed WAEC GCE forms to students and school leavers to promote literacy in his district. No fewer than 250 applicants benefited from the education support program, which was held at the council secretariat on Monday. Addressing the beneficiaries, parents, and guardians, Dr. Akpatira disclosed that the annual WAEC GCE forms distribution, which is one of the cardinal programs of his administration, is targeted at raising the literacy bar in Itire Kate Local Council Development Area and the state. He stated further, the aim is not just to provide quality education, but to support indigent students and present them with unique opportunities to prepare them for tertiary education. Thus, he advised beneficiaries to concentrate on the studies and aim for the best in their educational pursuits, as he also enjoined parents to give the awards ample time to study. Amid the economic challenges faced by Nigerians following the removal of fuel subsidy, resulting in increased prices of goods and services, the University of Ibadan (UI) has taken a proactive step by making adjustments to its schedule. The institution aims to alleviate the impact of the fuel subsidy removal on its staff members. Thus, a special release numbered 4642 and dated August 14, 2023 was issued bearing the signature of the Registrar and Secretary to the Council, G.O. Saliu. The university administration therefore acknowledged the hardship faced by individuals who rely on their salaries to commute to work, particularly given the rising cost of transportation and living expenses. To address the situation, the UI management meticulously evaluated the circumstances and arrived at the decision to implement a temporary work schedule adjustment for its staff members. This decision was endorsed by the University Senate during a meeting held on August 3, 2023. Worried by the discrimination against graduates of polytechnics in public service in Nigeria, the National Board for Technical Education has unveiled a one-year online top-up program for higher national diploma holders to convert their certification to bachelor's degree. According to the board, the online top-up program would be done with foreign accredited universities. Head of Media Unit NBTE, Mrs. Fatima Abubakar, in a statement made available to newsmen in Abuja on Monday, said this would facilitate the progression of HND holders to higher degrees instead of the postgraduate diploma program. The board has accordingly appealed to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to assent into law the bill removing the HND-BSc dichotomy in the public service as passed by the last National Assembly. In a related development, the Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics has said it is in support of the board's online top-up program for higher national diploma holders to convert their certification to bachelor's degree through online top-up for 1 year with foreign accredited universities. And on the foreign scene, the Nicaraguan government has seized a prominent Jesuit-run university in the capital, Managua, in President Daniel Ortega's latest effort to lash out against the Catholic Church. The Central American University, UCA, announced on Wednesday that all classes and administrative activities were suspended after a criminal court ruled its property and financial accounts were being transferred to the government. The Society of Jesus, the Jesuit order that runs the school, told reporters that the government had accused the university of being a center of terrorism organized by criminal groups. And in the wake of the announcement, the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, OHCHR, issued a statement condemning the university's confiscation. The agency has therefore called on Nicaragua to respect its obligations under the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, which protects the right to education. That's all on the news for today, but before we go, a quick recap of the major stories. Lagos State government shuts down school over 4-year-old girl alleged defilement by security guard. Parents lament hike in tuition fees. Fuel subsidy. University of Ibadan directs staff to work 3 days weekly. And on the foreign scene, Nicaragua seizes Catholic University accused of being center of terrorism. That's the news. It was compiled by Numa Ibrahim and edited by OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Don't forget, for the coverage of your educational programs, seminars, competitions, trainings, among others, you can call us on 0702 507 4268, or you can send us an email via educationmediaservices@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.
dára púpọ̀. Ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ̀. Ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga. Ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa. Tẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga. Ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa. Tẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa. Tẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa.
All right, that's all we can take on the news for today. Right now, we'll take the icon of the week. You're welcome to the Icon of the Week segment where we consider the life and times of individuals that lived inspiring lives and contributed immensely to educational development in the world. I am OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Our icon for this week is Francis Kwame Nkrumah. Francis Kwame Nkrumah was a Ghanaian politician, political theorist, and revolutionary. Nkrumah was born on September 21, 1909 in Nkroful, Gold Coast. The son of a goldsmith, he was known as Francis Nwia Kofi Nkrumah, Kofi being the name given to males born on Fridays. He later changed his name to Kwame Nkrumah in 1945 in the United Kingdom, preferring the name Kwame. According to Ebenezer Obiri-Ado, in his study of the future president, the name Nkrumah, a name traditional given to a ninth child, indicates that Nkrumah probably held that place in the house of his father, who had several wives. His father, Okpanye Kofi Nwiana Ngoloma, came from Nkroful, belonging to the Akan tribe of the Asona clan. Sources indicated that Ngoloma stayed at Takwa and Swaim and dealt in goldsmith business. In addition, Ngoloma was respected for his wife's counsel by those who sought his advice on traditional issues and domestic affairs. He died in 1927. As such, Kwame was the only child of his mother. Nkrumah's mother sent him to the elementary school run by a Catholic mission at Half-Assini, where he proved an adept student. A German Roman Catholic priest by the name of George Fisher was said to have profoundly influenced his elementary school education. Nkrumah spent 9 years at the Roman Catholic Elementary School in nearby Half-Assini. After graduation from Achimota College in 1930, he started his career as a teacher at Roman Catholic junior schools in Elmina and KAZEEM and at a seminary. After obtaining his teacher's certificate from the Prince of Wales College at Achimota in 1930, Nkrumah was given a teaching post at the Roman Catholic Primary School in Elmina in 1931, and after a year there, he was made headmaster of the school at KAZEEM. In KAZEEM, he started to get involved in politics and founded the Nzima Literary Society. In 1933, he was appointed a teacher at the Catholic Seminary at Amisano. Although the life there was strict, he liked it and considered becoming a Jesuit. Nkrumah had heard journalist and future Nigerian president Nnamdi Azikiwe speak while being a student at Achimota. The two men met, and Azikiwe's influence increased Nkrumah's interest in black nationalism. The young teacher decided to further his education. Azikiwe had attended Lincoln University, a historically black college in Chester County, Pennsylvania, west of Philadelphia, and he advised Nkrumah to enroll there. Nkrumah, who had failed the entrance examination for London University, gained funds for the trip and his education from relatives. He traveled by way of Britain, where he learned to his outrage of Italy's invasion of Ethiopia, one of the few independent African nations. He arrived in the United States in October 1935. In 1935, then he gained admission into Lincoln University and was there till 1999, and further went to University of Pennsylvania between 1939 and 1943. A gifted student, by 1943, Nkrumah had earned multiple bachelor's and master's degrees in economics, sociology, education, theology, and philosophy. Then, in May of 1945, Nkrumah departed for London, England, where he studied as a PhD student at the London School of Economics. He studied the literature of socialism, notably Karl Marx and Vladimir Lenin, and of nationalism, especially Marcus Garvey, the black American leader of the 1920s. Eventually, Nkrumah came to describe himself as a non-denominational Christian and a Marxist socialist. While in London, Nkrumah held key positions in anti-colonialist and black nationalist organizations and authored controversial papers calling for African independence and unity. In 1945, Nkrumah co-founded the Pan-African Congress, which became an influential voice against colonialism in Africa. He also immersed himself in political work, reorganizing and becoming president of the African Students Organization of the United States and Canada. He left the United States in May 1945 before going to England, where he organized the 5th Pan-African Congress in Manchester. Meanwhile, in the Gold Coast, J.B. Dankwa had formed the United Gold Coast Convention (UGCC) to work for self-government by constitutional means. Invited to serve as UGCC's General Secretary, Nkrumah returned home in late 1947. As General Secretary, he addressed meetings throughout the Gold Coast and began to create a mass base for the new movement. When extensive riots occurred in February 1948, the British briefly arrested Nkrumah and other leaders of the UGCC. When a split developed between the middle-class leaders of the UGCC and the more radical supporters of Nkrumah, he formed in June 1949 the new Convention People's Party (CPP), a mass-based party that was committed to a program of immediate self-government. In January 1950, Nkrumah initiated a campaign of positive action involving non-violent protests, strikes, and non-cooperation with the British colonial authorities. In 1951, the CPP created the Accelerated Development Plan for Education. This plan set up a 6-year primary course to be attended as close to universally as possible, with a range of possibilities to follow. All children were to learn arithmetic as well as gain a sound foundation for citizenship with permanent literacy in both English and the vernacular. Primary education became compulsory in 1962. The plan also stated that the religious schools would no longer receive funding and that some existing missionary schools would be taken over by government. In 1952, the Artisan Trading Scheme, arranged with the Colonial Office and UK Ministry of Labour, provided for a few experts in every field to travel to Britain for technical education. Kumasi Technical Institute was founded in 1956. In September 1960, it added the Technical Teacher Training Center. In 1961, the CPP passed the Apprentice Act, which created a General Apprenticeship Board along with committees for each industry. In 1961, Nkrumah laid the first stones in the foundation of the Nkrumah Ideological Institute, created to train Ghanaian civil servants as well as promote Pan-Africanism. In 1964, all students entering college in Ghana were required to attend a 2-week ideological orientation at the institute. Nkrumah remarked that trainees should be made to realize the party's ideology is religion and should be practiced faithfully and fervently. In 1964, Nkrumah brought forth the 7-year development plan for national reconstruction and development, which identified education as a key source of development and called for the expansion of secondary technical schools. Secondary education would also include in-service training programs. As Nkrumah told Parliament, employers both public and private to be expected to make a far greater contribution to labor training through individual factory and farm schools, industry-wide training schemes, day release, payment for attendance at short courses and evening classes. This training would be indirectly subsidized with tax credits and import allocations. In February 1966, while Nkrumah was on a state visit to North Vietnam and China, his government was overthrown in a violent coup d'etat led by the national military and police forces with backing from the civil service. The conspirators, led by Joseph Arthur Ankara, named themselves the National Liberation Council and ruled as a military government for 3 years. Nkrumah did not learn of the coup until he arrived in China. After the coup, Nkrumah stayed in Beijing for 4 days and Premier Zhou Enlai treated him with courtesy. Following the coup, Ghana realigned itself internationally, cutting its close ties to Guinea and the Eastern Bloc, accepting a new friendship with the Western Bloc, and inviting the International Monetary Fund and World Bank to take a leading role in managing the economy. With this reversal, accentuated by the expulsion of immigrants and a new willingness to negotiate with apartheid South Africa, Ghana lost a good deal of its stature in the eyes of African nationalists. Nkrumah never returned to Ghana, but he continued to push for his vision of African unity. He lived in exile in Conakry, Guinea, as the guest of President Ahmad Sekou Toure, who made him honorary co-president of the country. Nkrumah read, wrote, corresponded, gardened, and entertained guests. Despite retirement from public office, he felt that he was still threatened by Western intelligence agencies. When his cook died mysteriously, he feared that someone would poison him and began hoarding food in his room. He suspected that foreign agents were going through his mail and lived in constant fear of abduction and assassination. In failing health, he flew to Bucharest, Romania, for medical treatment in August 1971. He died of prostate cancer in April 1972 at the age of 62 while in Romania. Nkrumah was buried in a tomb in the village of his birth, in Nkroful, Ghana. While the tomb remains in Nkroful, his remains were transferred to a large national memorial tomb and park in Accra, Ghana. Over his lifetime, Nkrumah was awarded honorary doctorate by many universities, including Lincoln University, Pennsylvania, Moscow State University, USSR, Cairo University, Egypt, Jagiellonian University, Poland, and Humboldt University, East Germany. In 2000, he was voted African Man of the Millennium by listeners to the BBC World Service, being described by the BBC as a hero of independence and an international symbol of freedom as the leader of the first black African country to shake off the chains of colonial rule. In September 2009, President John Atta Mills declared 21st September, which marked the 100th anniversary of Kwame Nkrumah's birth, to be Founders Day, a statutory holiday in Ghana to celebrate the legacy of Kwame Nkrumah. In April 2019, President Akufo-Addo approved the Public Holidays Amendment Act 2019, which changed 21st September from Founders Day to Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day. That's all for the icon of the week. For today, I am OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Education Today continues in a moment. Please stay with us.
Ó dáni lójú pé yóò jìyà. Iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe, tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe, tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
That was the icon of the week. We celebrate the great nationalist, activist, and first president of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah. Right now, I will be moving into the discuss segment. Already, our guest is here with us, and we shall be taking a look at the effect of fuel subsidy removal on the education sector from the parents' perspective. All right. As a brief introduction, on 29th May 2023, a new administration led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was sworn in. In his inauguration speech, the president announced the removal of fuel subsidy. In reaction, the price of petrol, which determines the cost of transportation and other items in the economy, tripled, worsening the inflation situation in the country. One of those sectors affected by this economic decision is education. The operational cost of schools has increased, leading to increment in school fees, demand for higher wages by teachers and other staff, and many parents contemplating change of schools for their kids to cheaper ones with probably less quality and not too conducive environment. What can parents do to cope at this time without jeopardizing the education of their children? What can the government do to ameliorate the effect of this subsidy removal on the education of Nigerian citizens? These and many more are some of the posers that we seek answers to on today's episode of Education Today. And joining us for the discussion today is a researcher, economic analyst, business consultant, and most importantly, a parent, the general manager of Havek Leadership Academy. I have Mr. Abdulwasi Ayola. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome to Education Today.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me here today. It's a pleasure.
All right. For our listeners, you can be part of this discourse by sending your comments and questions to 0809 738 4000, or you can drop your comments via the live video feeds on Facebook and YouTube. All right, but before moving to the discourse proper, our short quiz question for this week: in what year and in what country did Kwame Nkrumah die? If you listen to our icon of the week, you know quite well that Kwame Nkrumah was our icon for this week. So, in what year and in what country did Kwame Nkrumah die? Send your answer to the WhatsApp number 0809 738 4000 or our Facebook or YouTube page. The first correct answer wins the prize. All right. So, Mr. Ayala, you're welcome again to Education Today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Okay. So, to start with, let me ask you, how would you react to the removal of fuel subsidy by the Nigerian government? What's your reaction to that decision by the government?
Okay, the issue of fuel subsidy has been a controversial one long before this new administration. And so many of us that are experts, we felt that fuel subsidy should be removed. We knew it is one of the things to do if Nigeria must move forward. But the way and manner it was announced, that is the only thing people have
issues with.
Yes, misreaction on. And I also shared such a feeling.
Okay.
So it was not well articulated and launched.
All right. Now, for schools generally, we know quite well that that decision came in the middle of the term. I think it was third term for schools generally. So, that was in May. So, for you as a parent, how did it affect you, and how were you able to cope for the remainder of that third term?
Surely, first subsidy came towards the examination period during the last term, or let me say the last session. So most parents, they were not happy with the news. But at the same time, the schools too were mostly affected, because as at that time, they cannot change the rule of the game in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
So, but most parents know that if they have successfully escaped that period, they wouldn't have that opportunity in the coming session, and that's starting from September. So that is the feelings of most parents. And I must tell you, whether from the primary school or secondary school, we have started receiving notice. The expected and unspoken school fees increment.
Wow.
May God help us through.
Amen. All right. So, now that this has happened, in which way do you think the fuel subsidy removal has affected homes generally, both parents and their children? Because I know quite well that people come into school on a daily basis, at least people feed and things like that. So, for you as a parent, now, speaking probably on behalf of parents now, how do you think this fuel subsidy removal has affected homes generally in Nigeria?
Number one is that it has affected the socio-economic situation and conditions of the parents. Some workplace now that have not adjusted, they are not helping issues, because the same salary you were earning between January and May, if you are still earning it in now, it means you are grossly affected, because the cost of living has been tripled, the standard of living has been lowered, the poor has become poorest. And those who are poorest before have become more vulnerable. So to the extent that we can say there is hunger in the land. So some have lost their job. It's one of the ways it has affected them. Some have been promised that their job will soon be lost. And that's a bad news.
Wow.
Yes. These are parents that are also planning for school resumption come next month. So those are the ways that affected them. Then some are already taking decisions regarding their children. I've seen a parent that told me, at worst, because that man is a security man, at worst, I'm going to pack my wife and my children back to our village. And this is a parent that all his 5 children are attending private school.
Wow.
Struggling through cooperative, thrift and credit it takes normally, but now with all these things he's already thinking going back to village. I was trying to persuade him that, well, what tell you that going back to village will solve your problem and the lifestyle in the village? How would your children adjust, the children you born in Lagos? Because it's taking them as far as Akungba in Kogi State, very far away from
no,
here.
okay, Akungba, I think that's probably around Ondo State, right? Towards
Okay.
Akungba,
There's one Akungba
in Kogi State.
in Kogi
Wow,
State,
that's
yes.
serious. Wow. now, so that's for homes generally, but let's look critically at the education of children, because I'm looking at a situation where in Nigeria there was a complaint that some people are not in schools. So how do you think this has affected children? I, for one, can speak of my own children, because then when that thing happened, see, they had to support their movement to school with a lot of trekking. So I don't know. So probably because I cannot speak for all parents. I'm here as a presenter, not actually as a parent. So, but you speaking on behalf of parents, how do you think this has affected school children? Because I'm sure probably your children must have come home one day or one way or the other, probably might have rendered some complaint. What kinds of probably complaints did you get from your own children?
To be candid with you, I have taken some measures before now, and that is why I will say as a parent those things may not be affecting me, and it will also be part of our discussion here today for people to learn. But the truth is that some parents would have to change the location of their children's schools. That will happen. Some will move from city to village, like I've told you earlier on. And those are the ways that affected those children. And what that means is that the school itself will be affected, because there will be drop in enrollment. So the fear on the part of the students is that for those thinking of moving from Lagos to village, where those in Lagos or those in the city are not even enjoying all the social amenities and education that is called free, taking them to village may make such children to join the list of out of school children. And that is a very bitter thing to hear.
In fact, that was probably even my next question, because I was looking at it that with Nigeria having as much as over about 20 million or more out of school children, which seems to be probably even the highest in the world, will this decision worsen the the number of out of school children population that we have in Nigeria? Or probably there won't be any significant difference in that situation.
Yoruba will say whatever has affected the head will affect the other part of the body. Once the parents have been affected socio-economically, with respect to decision making, they have to make concerning the schooling of their children. There's no way it will not affect the children, because the children are not the one taking those important decisions concerning their lives at that stage. And I think we need to tread softly in that area, so that whatever decision we are taking as parents do not add to the number of out of school children, do not add to the number of students that are dropout, also students that are exposed to gender-based violence.
Wow.
That we are already seeing the increase in the rate
of
the time. So those are the angle parents have to look at critically. So like I was trying to persuade that friend of mine that you can't pack your children, 5 of them you born in Lagos, and take them to village overnight. You are going to witness catastrophe. It's going to affect you, and you won't like it. And his work is such that he's always on mission. You transfer him to Abuja today, to Kogi tomorrow, though he can come home maybe 2 weeks. But the truth is that you are exposing the children to more dangers, and their education cannot be assured.
All right. Now, looking at this fuel subsidy removal thing, some people probably have the opinion that it is the private schools that will be affected, or private school pupils, and probably public school children are not so much affected. So probably in your own thoughts, do you think will this kind of situation, does it affect probably only private schools, or it affects everybody? And in what ways do you think like both are affected? Because ordinarily for some people in public school, they feel like already in our own school we know that we are we are the poor masses. So is there anything new in probably the standard of education or our means of going to school? We've already been checking to our schools all this while. There's nothing like school bus in public school. So now, so I want you to probably comment on this, because I know there is a level of disparity within the society. So is this limited to probably those that are in the middle class and upper class alone, or when it comes to education, everyone, both the upper and middle class and probably even the lower classes, are affected?
It depends on the socio-economic status of the parent we are talking about. Though when we look at it critically or economically, we will say private school will be affected more compared to the public school. But the truth is that public school too will be affected in some ways. Somebody who is deciding on taking children away from Lagos to the suburb, if those children, 5 of them are going to public school, they are also going to witness low enrollment. There will be decrease in their enrollment rate. And we should not look at it from one angle alone. And I think that is where issue of economic cushioning, palliative have to come in. Even at the smallest level of government, which is the local government level, we have seen politicians that provide buses. This is the time all our leaders at the grassroots need to put their thinking cap on, and this message goes to them. How are we going to do it in a way that this fuel subsidy, in the area of increase in the cost of living, the cost of transportation, will not affect parents? Where parents will need to look for more money to add to the school fees, but in the area of movement, transportation, how would they come in? So these are some of the things that we expect our political leaders to be thinking on and to embrace, not only few of them as we have seen in the past.
All right, you are still listening to Education Today on Light Route. Go on a short break. When we return, the program continues. Please stay with us.
Ẹ̀kọ́ dára púpọ̀, ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́. Ẹ̀kọ́ dára púpọ̀, ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́. Ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga, ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá. Ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yìn òbí wa, lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ.
Alright, you are still listening to Education Today on Light Radio, and we are discussing the effect of subsidy removal on education from the parents' perspective. And we have a business consultant, researcher, and parent, as well as general manager of Harvard Leadership Academy, Mr. Abdulwasi Ayola, as our guest, providing insight into the topic. Don't forget you can be part of this discussion by sending your comments, questions, and contributions. You can reach us on Facebook via www.facebook.com/lightsradio, www.facebook.com/lightsradio. Our Twitter handle is @TheLightsRadio, Instagram lights_radio, and YouTube Lightspace Radio. You can also send or call. You can call or send a message to us via SMS or WhatsApp on 0809-738-4000. 0809-738-4000. As a reminder of our short quiz, in what year and in what country did Kwame Nkrumah die? In what year and what country did Kwame Nkrumah die? Send your answer to the WhatsApp number 0809-738-4000 or our Facebook or YouTube page. The first correct answer wins the prize. The first correct answer wins the prize. Alright, so we will continue with the discuss segment, but before then, let me appreciate those that have already joined us on social media. I can see many faces, many people. Thank you for your comments. Zainab Balabi saying good job. Fatima Obata, Nur Yusuf watching from Ikoyi, Lagos, say thank you very much for joining us on the program for today. All right, okay, so we'll move on with our discuss segment now. Looking at our schools generally, in fact these ones are even public schools, even beyond the private schools, although you said the private schools will be affected the more because they increase their fees almost every session, even sometimes every time, depending on the nature of the activities. Now we have that in the Unity schools there has been an increment from 40,000 naira to 100,000 naira in Unity schools across the federation. Then for public tertiary institutions, they have also hiked their fees. At least if I don't know of any, I know of University of Lagos that has increased its fees, where the returning students originally paid 16,000 naira. Now they are to pay 100,000 naira. That is more than 400% increment. Now, we also have the same University of Ibadan has announced its own University of Ibadan. There are so many federal universities, and we know ordinarily state universities, those ones already they pay tuition, and private universities don't even go there. That is, their own, business. Now, so all of them have hiked their fees. Now, let me ask: is this a must for them, probably for them to stay afloat, or is it just because of profit maximization at this particular time that we know the economy is hard? They are also trying to at least to be able to maintain their level of profitability. Is this kind of decision, hiking school fees, is it on the basis of maximizing profit at this time, or even trying to stay afloat because of operational costs?
Okay, let me start from the perspective of the unity schools. If you look at the unity schools all over the country, they are fewer. They are not as many as private schools. Even when we talk about those at the public schools level, politically owned by the state governments, the unity schools are established, controlled, and owned by federal government.
Yes.
And we can count just a few number of them, like in Lagos State, for example. Now we can count a few number of them on our fingertips. So it's not even up to the size of our hand. Just three in Lagos. The state boarding schools, or even model schools, are even more than them.
Absolutely.
So the truth is that they were just trying to react, just like other sectors of the economy have reacted, because in some ways the removal of subsidy too would affect them, especially those of them running boarding schools. Government have been subsidizing all these schools. That's just the truth. And I've seen in recent publication, government mentioned that so there shouldn't be any increase in tuition fee. Like university have maintained, like you mentioned, university they've maintained that the tuition fee is zero. For what all of them have only increased or adjusted in some way upward, review upward, at the what they call utility bills. So utility bills, but they also have to do that with human face. They also have to do that with some innovativeness and ingenuities. But there are ways some of these schools can take care of some of their utility bills if they actually they are more creative and innovative about it.
Because I'm trying to imagine 400%. That does not have human face. That is not coming with human face at this particular point when the economy is actually harsh on the general citizens. Because I'm trying to imagine a situation where the federal government removes subsidy from fuel with the hope and promise that to be able to channel these said funds into other critical sectors. Education and health were two major sectors that were mentioned, and unfortunately this education that is number one is the one that is now suffering that one.
Is upward. I think many of them are too, how would I put it? They are too ambitious about increment. They would have waited for the gestation period to pass for government to roll out its palliatives in education and health sector as government had promised. Though government had erred in the first instance by putting the cart before the horse, because it is what you want to do as palliative, as cushioning effect that's supposed to
come first.
Yes, come first to act properly, because you are a leader of the people. Because you are a leader of the people, you let them get what you want to do. Let them understand it very well. The news of subsidy removal should not come to them as a shock. Most of the major candidates in the last election campaign that they will remove subsidy, and many of us believe that's the way to go. But the way and manner it is being carried out now, or it was announced, was what brought about misreaction, and we need to work on this. So on the aspect of those unity schools, I don't see much affecting them. Because government has been subsidizing them seriously. Most of their bills have been subsidized by government.
So will government now continue with this increment? Do you think government will continue? Because I'm trying to imagine a situation where all these federal universities ordinarily, where they don't pay tuition, government give them subventions and things like that to take care of all these operational costs and the likes like that. Now with the increment in these fees, school fees, not tuition, because they still say it's free tuition, but then with the increment in these utility bills that ordinarily would have been taken care of by government, do you think government will still, pay them subvention, or do you think government still has anything to do when it comes to probably, meeting some of these operational costs?
Government will continue to subsidize those schools. They will continue to subsidize their schools, because even with the increment they have announced, they cannot foot the bill to nurse an average secondary student for a whole term, 4 months. They can't spend 100,000. There's no way they are going to achieve that. So the only problem some of us have with all these announcements is it has become more of window dressing. Everybody want to follow what is going on, so it's a bandwagon effect. So you want to just announce for what? We'll have waited a bit, listen to what government have in stock to dish out in terms of palliatives, in terms of even deployment of the savings from the subsidy to the education and health sectors. So after that, the school can now sit down and think about how they want to cushion the balance of their cost. So, but it is too early in the day, it is too preemptive for everybody to be talking about increment without due analysis of the economic and the socio-economic aspect of the implications. So that is what I think that they still need to. But in the last 2 days now, we have seen government talking about considering some things, making sure that the price of petroleum product do not go up further. So these are kind of the introduction of subsidy. They may not call it subsidy, but
we know what it is.
Those usually affect is a way of reconsidering. Yes, seeing
the aftermath,
the aftermath of the policy announcement.
All right.
So
now, so what coping strategies would you recommend to parents at this trying times? Because I'm trying to imagine a parent that probably before now was paying, like, let's say 200,000 as school fees, probably like for 3 children, and suddenly that is probably jumping to almost at 600,000, and with the same level of income, no salary increment. It's not as if any money is coming from elsewhere. So how will they be able to cope at this time? So what would you recommend that they should do?
There are a lot parents needs to do in this difficult and surviving period, because we need to continue to strive and thrive in spite of economic action, in spite of global economic downturn. So we need to take some measures.
Okay.
For some of us who have taken those measures before, we may not be seriously affected by this subsidy. Number one is that we need to cultivate a positive mindset. I was reading an article written by Professor Raimi Lukman, and he identified those measures because he's in Nigeria. He has lived here for some time, so he was here even during COVID. So he understands the situation. Number one is we need to change our mindset to a growth mindset.
Okay.
In a growth mindset,
we need to manage
yes, okay. Growth mindset, you are going to make sure you are going to accept realities and work with what work for you, and not just reacting unnecessarily. So it means parents to sit down and adopt growth mindset in order to bring about some positive changes in the way they administer their income. Number two is that they need to practice. Many parents now need to practice multiple sources of income. We need to look at if our income before that is taking care of the family is 100% before, or 120%, we are even able to save 20%. Now we need to double that income. So that's why we need to look for a way of investing. Economists, they will tell you that the best decision is where you allocate your income across all the different income growing measures. Like you need to save part of your income, you need to also invest, and you don't only concentrate on consumption. So those who practice savings, investment before consumption, they do better. They do better than others. So parents should be looking at what job can I do on weekends now? What are those things that can I do online? Do I need to acquire new skills to be able to earn additional income? That is practicing multiple sources of income. Another thing parents need to do is to adjust their spendings, and that talks about financial literacy. We need to improve on our financial literacy skills. We need to learn about budgeting. We need to learn about cost reduction strategies. We need to learn that we don't spend on just everything that come our way, but only on basic needs, things that are needed. We need to continue to ask questions anytime we want to buy things. That is it
a need or you want?
Is it a need or want? Yes. And is it important? Is it a very important and urgent need? So whatever is not urgent and is not important now can be shelved until the economic maintain its balance to some level. So that is also part of what government should do. Then at the end too, we need to take care of our emotional and spiritual balance, and we'll be able to do that very well when we are able to convert all the psychic energy we get from churches and mosques by worshiping God sincerely, so that we don't carry all this thinking on our head and start misbehaving. A lot of people are misbehaving now because they have allowed economic matter to weigh them down. So we need to look up to God.
On a final note, what can the government do, or what should people expect from the government?
Yes, government, people elected government to be in the position they are now, and they are only privileged to be there. So government need to put people first in whatever they are doing. That is number one.
Okay.
They need to put people first. Number two, they need to remember that there is accountability, and people need to demand accountability self. Right, up to the local government level, because all of them have in the last 2 months now they've witnessed increase in revenue allocation.
Yes.
So we need to start demanding accountability from them, from the local government, from our councillor, from the local government level, from state level up to federal government level. And we can always do that by monitoring what they do and by writing our petition on what we feel is not doing well to the House of Assembly, to the even council, as well as their own council. Yes, we need to be proactive. So accountability is key. Then the third one is that government need to take care of some things that will make this period difficult for people, and those are the things that you channel their palliatives to. The area of public transport. There is nothing wrong in local government if every councillor put down about 4 buses that will be conveying people to school without discriminating whether it's public or private school. I've seen a politician doing that. All the children always wait at the particular petrol station. They will board the bus and will carry them. They also know the time he always come there and the time will return them in the afternoon. So these are the kind of things that everybody must embrace now. It's not a particular person strategy now. It should now be a general strategy to cushion the effect. Therefore, for workers too, government should make it a general policy to reduce hours of work. Like in my own workplace now, they've introduced policy of rescheduling the work assignment and tax to the extent that some are only coming to work 3 times a day. And I've seen federal 3 times a week. Sorry, wow. I've also seen federal government implementing that. Some states have introduced that. States that have not introduced that, they've introduced additional money for transportation. They call it transportation palliative, 20,000 naira. We have seen a state done that. So we need to.
We are waiting for Governor Sanwo-Olu.
Yes, Governor Sanwo-Olu too. From what I've heard, they've also announced that the hours of work during the week have reduced to 3 for some staffs. So the days during the week.
Days of work.
Days of work.
Okay.
And so some people have to work from home, but it was restricted to particular levels. But I don't know what will happen to teachers. Maybe teachers in public schools will need transportation
allowance. God bless you. Thank you very much. All right, because of time, that's all we can take on the discuss segment for today. We'd like to appreciate our guest, Mr. Abdulwasi Ayola, the General Manager of Harvard Leadership Academy, a business consultant, a researcher, and economic analyst, for the insight that he has provided on our discourse for today. I hope to have more opportunity to probably have you on our show to discuss some other issues related to education at some other times. All right.
I'll always come.
Thank you very much. Okay, good.
You're welcome.
All right. Very quickly, we want to take the words of the marble, and the words of the marble segment. You are welcome. This is the segment where we take a look at memorable quotes that are educational and inspirational to everyone. Today we have a quote from Nora Roberts. According to her, if you don't go after what you want, you will never have it. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. If you don't step forward, you are always in the same place. That's our words on the marble for today. Regardless of the challenges that we face in the world of today, to achieve greatness, we need to put in a lot of effort. Keep going. Be focused. Be determined. Let your desire for success be greater than your fear of failure. It's not over until you succeed. Alright, so before we go, this is just to inform you, our listeners, that from next week, there will be an adjustment in our program schedule as new segments will be introduced into the program lineup. So apart from the regular news, quiz, what's on the marble, and discuss segments, Professional of the Week and Icon of the Week will feature fortnightly, while new segments like Did You Know?, School in Focus, UN Days, Country in Focus, among others, will come on stream. We promise you that you will be in for a lot of enlightenment and entertainment on this program. All right. So we asked earlier concerning Kwame Nkrumah, and we said that in what year and where did Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana, died? In what year did he die? So we have an answer here. All right, we have an answer. This is coming from Shukrat Olari. I think she was our winner last week, and this year again, it seems she's the only one that sent in the answer to that question. She said Romania in 1972. All right, good job. She says, and also Zainab Alabi, thank you. Good job. Thank you very much for being a part of this program. All right, so that's the answer. Kwame Nkrumah died in April 1972 while in Romania. Alright, so this is just to inform you, our esteemed listeners, that you can advertise your products and service and also showcase your events on our program. This you can do by calling the number 0703 953 8998 or 0702 507 4268. I'll take that again, 0702 507 4268. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let's know how you feel about today's program through our various platforms. www.facebook.com/education today. You can also send an email to educationmediaservices@gmail.com, and also watch the video of today's program again on Facebook or YouTube via Lights Radio. Please like our pages and share our videos to others. You can also listen to the repeat broadcast of the episode on Radio Garden app on Wednesday between 2 and 3 p.m. West African time. Many thanks to the entire crew of Education Today and the management of Lights Radio, including MC Vibes, T-Wise and Faye. The supervising producer has been Saeed Aremu. Do join us same time next week on this same station next week. I am OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. See you next week. Goodbye. I will